Garrison Price from the historic Wall Center, and our next guest is a presentation of Mr. Lube. Mr. Lube and Tires. Change your oil, change your wipers event is on now. Visit MrLube.com to download your coupon for a free pair of Goodyear hybrid wiper blades with any oil change, only for a limited time at Mr. Lube, with 18 locations in the Lower Mainland. The wonderfully welcoming face that you see if you're watching on YouTube is, of course, your former voice of the Vancouver Canucks and now voice of the Calgary Flames. Congratulations and welcome back to Mr. John Abbott. How are you, sir?
Guys, I'm great. It's really nice to connect with you, and I'm really looking forward to a new rivalry with Calgary and Vancouver, but being able to get into BC and see a little bit more often. So this is just an early preview, and I appreciate you putting up with my North Bay connection here. I'm just making all the stops before getting to Alberta.
Visiting all of your Ontario family before you have to depart. And for those that have lost track of you, keep us up to date on what the last couple of years. You left with us in the mini-phased deconstruction of TSN 1040. What have you been doing the last couple of years?
I was fortunate enough that Gord Miller can't call every game at TSN, so they needed somebody else to step in and do some Ottawa Senators broadcasts, and was very, very fortunate to be part of that broadcast. It's a super crew, so I'll dearly miss them, but that opportunity really helped pave the way for the one in front of me, which I'm super excited about. So from Sens back out west to Calgary, and can't wait for training camp on the 19th, and then officially get going in October. So it's almost time to officially become an Albertan, and we're really excited to be able to do that.
Obviously, the season's going to have a different feel to it in Calgary, given the news here the last couple of weeks and Johnny Gaudreau, and we saw the outpouring. And, I know he had left Calgary, but obviously opening night, I'm sure there'll be some sort of memory and memorial. And when Columbus comes to town, not that should impact you in the way that you broadcast, but what about just your outlook for the Flames? I'm sure as you went through the process, put your thinking cap on and try to figure out what kind of season it's going to be in Calgary. What do you expect from the Flames, who seem like they're sort of in a phase of transition right now?
I'll try not to answer too long, which I know is difficult for a play-by-play guy, especially me, J-Pat. But just the first part, certainly continue to think of the Gaudreau family and their extended family. And almost 10 years in Calgary, he's got a start to his career there. So a lot of the people that I had known previously within the Flames organization, and some of those I had just had the pleasure of meeting, we're really close to that family. And so you think of everybody that this has affected. And one of the things that we heard, my family heard about Calgary, is just how great a community it is. And I think that's been on full display in the most tragic of circumstances, but really uplifting the Gaudreau family. I wasn't able to make it to the candlelight vigil, but watched it online, and just the outpouring of emotions and support from everybody, that once adopted the Gaudreaus really for the beginning of his career, was amazing to see. So it kind of speaks to the Calgary community, which we're excited to be a part of real soon. And I think it's going to be an emotional year that way. I don't think it's going to, they're doing that was the first of 13 days honoring Johnny Gaudreau in Calgary. So the funeral will be coming up next week. And I don't know that there's going to be closure anytime soon, but I think it's through things like hockey and through the Flames family that, people are able to be supported. So I think right from night one, Jeff and Blake, and then, of course, the head-to-head against Columbus, those moments will continue through the season. And I think the Flames, those were the glory days a little bit when Johnny Hockey was doing his thing. And he's certainly one of the bigger superstars that Calgary's had in their history. And now they're trying to harness some new superstars. So it's a little bit of an in-between year, I think. I think they're going to surprise some teams around the NHL. I think they're going to be really hard-working. They're going to be a tough out, but they're going to rely on some of those experienced names like a Kadri, like a Coleman, like a Lomberg, who just got brought in after winning the Stanley Cup to support the group. And then they're going to transition a lot of names that are on the cusp, I think, or are starting to figure out how to play in the NHL on a nightly basis. So I'm expecting a real fun to watch competitive team in a real tough division and conference.
I know that you spent the last couple of years in Ottawa. You're an Ontario guy. You've seen the Battle of Ontario firsthand over the years. How much fun do you think the Battle of Alberta will be to be a part of?
I can't wait. October 13th is the first version of that, and it'll be in Edmonton. So I'm sure there will be some red sweaters ready to show their support in the crowd against the Oilers. And that's pretty much the first question I get asked whenever I'm talking to somebody or Flames fans or have this type of opportunity. And I can't wait. You're right. The Battle of Ontario is one that I've experienced, but I think it cuts deeper almost with the Battle of Alberta, just especially the recent playoff history and given where these teams are going. For Calgary, I can't imagine that there's many games bigger on their schedule this year, and they're looking to kind of slow down the Oilers a little bit, give it to them, and remind them that they're not just going to cruise through anybody this season, let alone the Calgary Flames. So, yeah, if we get a Mike Smith and Cam Talbot dropping the gloves at center ice, that would be great. I don't know that it's going to get quite that feisty this time around, at least with the goalies, but I think there's enough players, there's enough chippiness in the Flames that they'll be under the skin of some of those Oilers, and I'm expecting a really, really great Battle of Alberta all season long. And yeah, I can't wait to get started with that one on the 13th of October, pretty early into the season.
For the Oilers, it's the curse of being the Stanley Cup finalist now, and that you're the rival of everybody, right? And probably for too long for Flames fans, they've mostly been the little brother in that relationship in the Battle of Alberta. But I mean, we've loved certain chapters of the Flames Canucks rivalry. But now, of course, because of the playoff series, it looks like Oilers Canucks has probably taken over. But it would be nice to see the Flames maybe get off to a good start and remind people that they are something to be reckoned with. Because, right now, I think more Canucks fans are looking forward to Oilers games than they are to Canucks Flames games.
Yeah, and I've been part of the other side of Flames Canucks rivalry, and we're going to see it in Game 1. And I'm excited for that too. But I think maybe secretly it's the Canucks not minding if the Flames somehow take one or a bunch of games away from the Edmonton Oilers in the regular season. And I do think you're right, Blake. I think, it's everybody against Edmonton at this point, it feels like. And so the Flames are more than happy, I'm sure, to lend a helping hand through the course of the regular season. And, the Oilers are going to be tough to stop no matter what. But again, you get that little extra jump from the Flames, and especially when it gets into the Saddle Dome. 2 years left there if everything goes on time and schedule, and they're over a month already into the construction of a new rink in Calgary. So they want to send the Saddle Dome out right, and I think there's nothing sweeter than beating the Oilers on a regular basis. And I do expect it to be. I don't expect it to be lopsided. The Flames have the regular season record, guys. I have to point that out. The postseason's a little different, but all-time Battle of Alberta goes the Flames' way in the regular season. So I think they'll be tucking that in their back pocket.
I don't want you to suck up to the audience here, Abs. I want to give it to you straight. What's the division look like? Is it a done deal? Is Edmonton the division champion? And then how does it go from there? Because I think there's probably some cynics, maybe not so much in Vancouver, but in other parts of the NHL market, that would say, no, that was everything coming together for a fully healthy Canucks team. That maybe they go down a couple of pegs, maybe Vegas rises again. Maybe there's a surprise Flame season. So how do you suspect the sort of the top four? And LA is not to be forgotten either here. What do you think this division looks like?
Yeah, I agree with you. I do think, Anaheim and San Jose probably still trying to put that together. LA will be interesting to follow. I think there's pressure there on the Kings to get a little bit more traction. I think the Flames are going to push. I think they're going to be a tough out. I don't mind when you consider the Canucks and Oilers. Like, I think it comes down to goaltending, and maybe that's unfair to put it solely on that position, but what's the game count for Thatcher Demko? If he's completely healthy, I think that's a big storyline that could change things in the Canucks' favor. And how are the Oilers able to continue? What Stuart Skinner are they going to get? Are they going to get the guy that had a renaissance in the playoffs after sitting and taking a look, or is this a guy that has experienced a lot of postseason success now, but has all the pressure of a team that's expected to get back there and then win it. So I do look at the goaltending position maybe deciding a lot. And yeah, Vegas is, I don't think you can ever count them out. We've learned that from day one when we were talking about, Sekeres being so irked with the fact that they haven't had any kind of pain or misery. And, for the most part, that's run true through their existence here.
On goaltending, by the way, what Calgary? What's that goaltending like?
Vladar is supposed to be ready to go. So we expect to see him in camp, and I think they're going to give Dustin Wolf a healthy look. So I don't know as far as game one. I'm sure we'll continue to bat that storyline around through training camp when it starts on the 19th. But I do expect it's going to be a two-headed monster in Calgary, and I think they really like what they have in Dustin Wolf and want to see him get even a bigger sample size. He finished the season for him last year, had a good record amidst players exiting Calgary fairly quickly. So the team that he started with, looking through the glass of a real American Hockey League premier goaltender, trying to jump his way up to Calgary, was not the Flames team that he finished with. So I'm sure they'll try to shelter him a little bit, not put too much pressure on him. And Vladar has every reason to have a calendar year that's a big one for him as well. So I do expect that both guys will get a good look this year.
John, sticking with goaltending, but just moving it back to you, and I know that you were a goalie of some note in your day.
It's pretty good.
But I saw all the things you said online about having the chance to work with Jamie McLennan the last bunch of years in the broadcast booth. What about the opportunity to partner with Kelly Hrudey, who is generally regarded as one of the good guys in this business?
I'm really excited. Yeah, I mean, not too many more people more fortunate than me to go from class act to Jamie McLennan, who I just, as you said, can't say enough good things about. He's a dear friend now, and we've enjoyed lots of time working together, to Kelly Hrudey, who I haven't had the pleasure of working with before, but we've already had a few phone calls, and we're getting set to catch up as training camp begins. It's kind of, I feel like I'm the rookie at camp trying to get used to the veterans around me, and in some ways that is a good parallel, because I'm refamiliarizing myself with Kelly, and I don't think it'll take long, hopefully not, to just get a good a good playoff of one another. And Greg Millen I've worked with in the past, very excited to reconnect with him, and Ryan Leslie on the host side is just fantastic as well. So yeah, I knew that it was a special group in Calgary, and I hope just to be able to fit in quickly and have lots of fun along the way this year. And I think Kelly, how can you get any better as a play-by-play guy to come in with that type of a security blanket? I mean, not only has he played the game, he set the bar for that position in so many different ways, including a guy like Dustin Wolf, who's a California kid coming up to play in the National Hockey League. Not too many of those. And Cooley, who they signed, is another one. So they actually have a direct line to the broadcast booth in Kelly Hrudey with two of the three Flames goaltenders that they may use this year. And just a grade A guy as well as Kelly. So yeah, really looking forward to it. It's good we have some time before we get going on the broadcast, but at the same time, can't wait until we actually get in the booth and get to call a regular season game and get to enjoy each other playing off one another a little bit more in that type of environment.
As we see here with Shorty on the regional broadcasts, he doesn't get the Hockey Night in Canada games that often, although I guess he's picked up a little bit in frequency. But what's the ballpark just in terms of number of broadcasts that you'll do as the regional package there?
I think somewhat the same when it comes to, those national games are Saturday nights. I don't have my set schedule as far as the breakdown yet. I think I was actually part of the problem, having that deal come along very close to the end of August, just like it was for me to follow Rick to Vancouver the first time, ironically enough. So, thank you, Rick, for another opening there. And
yeah, that's right.
Everybody believing in me a second time as well. But, when you think of splitting a season with Gord Miller, it really helped me as a broadcaster, and going back to the Ottawa Senators days, that is, being able to take from him and share the booth with him and be able to see what works so well for him. I'm excited to have a few more games. It should be in the 60 to 70 count, I think, but nothing clearly set out yet, as they try to get everybody in the right places for the season to begin. So I'll know a little bit more in the next couple of weeks, but yeah, very, very grateful and very excited that it's Sportsnet and the Flames, and there should be lots of fun moments to capture this year. And I know everybody's excited about the new stadium coming in new arena and coming in Calgary. And I know you guys would be too, because you've spent enough time in the Saddle Dome over the years. But
yes,
from the broadcast perch, for me,
yeah, you're right.
I love the old building. I love the Saddle Dome. You're right on top of it. You can feel the energy of the crowd. It's the old steel girders that bend and flex with every loud moment or bass coming through. They got a new jumbotron, so I'm actually very much looking forward to calling games in the Saddle Dome before we get to the new rink in a couple of years.
Two of the best views in the league, probably Vancouver and Calgary, right on top of the action. Be remiss if I didn't ask you about what you thought of the Canucks offseason moves. Not often you have a 109-point season, make as many changes as the Canucks ultimately did. Anybody of the newcomers that the Canucks have brought in that sort of tickles your fancy and you see as a good addition?
Well, I kind of lost you there, Blake. Sorry, but yeah.
In terms of the new additions for the Canucks, anybody you really like?
Oh, pardon me. Yeah, you know what? I would say overall, it seems like Vancouver has insulated themselves well. And as we look at today's game, I think that's where a lot of the teams that have had success, I mean, it's beyond a three-line team. Really, if you can have your fourth line be a competitive fourth line, that's going to make such a big difference for you in the postseason. So I would say just overall, the fact that they're kind of plugging in some holes and not just relying on the top two lines is probably where I would go with that one. It's maybe a bit of a cop-out, but I just think, and you guys see it on a nightly basis, it's a slog to compete in the division, let alone get to the playoffs and have the type of conference battles you have, and then somehow have enough in the tank to go coast to coast if you're lucky enough to do that in Stanley Cup Finals. So,
but can you imagine you imagine on opening night if the Flames face somebody not named Thatcher Demko, not named Artur Shilovs? Like right now, that's a real possibility for the Flames on night one.
Yeah, that probably was the biggest circle when you're looking at teams Calgary's going to play, and not knowing where that position's going to be at. And you kind of got Shilovs out of nowhere, didn't you? I mean, I know he had the funky shirts that caught on, and he became a bit of a folklore in Vancouver. But even
injuries are a thing.
Yeah, it's that'll be interesting to see. And you know what? As far as the Flames go, like I think that's where their head's at. It's Steele is come in and surprise some teams that may look past you because some of the roster moves, but don't discredit the type of GM that Craig Conroy is. Don't discredit Ryan Huska as a coach. They're going to demand a lot out of their team on a nightly basis. They're going to demand, a lot of hard work as well. So I don't think anyone can sleep on Calgary, to put it lightly.
From the shores of Lake Nipissing in North Bay, Ontario, we appreciate you taking time away from the family and your goodbyes to them as you become a Westerner again. We appreciate your time today, Abs. And
it's his farewell tour.
It is the Abs farewell tour. You and Oasis, very similar. Thanks so much, man. And
really
best of
happy
luck
for you.
Yeah, we'll touch base, I'm sure, but best of luck in getting things started there in Calgary.
Thanks, fellas. I really appreciate it. Hopefully the connection wasn't too bad. I will be much more clean shaven. I'm teaching the youngest guy to fish today, so I guess I look like I'm fitting the part. But we're sneaking some quick family time in. I'm driving the van out next week, full of stuff. So the journey continues, and can't wait to get to Calgary. And then also, game one's going to be pretty special as well. I'll be able to hopefully get in there and catch up with you guys a lot this season. So thanks for bearing with the look and the long answers, and really appreciating the fact we get to catch up a little bit more. Thanks, guys.
Have fun, Abs.